You know that feeling, right? When someone's saying one thing, but your gut is screaming they mean something else entirely? Well, you're not imagining it. Today, we're going to decode the unspoken language that makes up the huge, hidden majority of how we actually talk to each other nonverbal communication. Let's get into it. Okay, let's just start with a number that might blow your mind a little bit 55%. Yeah. Researchers have found that a staggering 55% of all our communication is nonverbal. And you might be asking, why so high? Well, it all comes down to evolution. Our brains are hardwired to process body language and tone of voice in an instant. It's an ancient survival skill, way older than spoken words. Which means if you're only listening to what's being said, you are missing more than half the conversation. And look, this isn't just about reading other people. It's about you. What messages are you broadcasting without even knowing it? Right now, what is your posture, your expression, telling the world? That's exactly what we're here to figure out. To really get this, we have to start with the basics of the silent language. Think of it like a constant stream of information that we are all sending and receiving, all the time, whether we like it or not. That word, unconsciously, is so key here. See, nonverbal communication is a two-way street. There's what's called encoding, that's how you express your feelings through your body, and decoding, which is how you interpret those signals from everyone else. And the wild part is, most of the time, we're doing both without even thinking about it. So how do we start to consciously, decode this language? Well, we can break it down into a few core channels that everybody uses, whether they realize it or not. First up, we've got kinesics. This is basically the science of body movement. Think about the sharp, decisive hand gestures a leader might use versus a friend's open, welcoming palms. Or think about the difference between a real, genuine smile that crinkles your eyes and a polite one that's just, your lips. Every single movement is telling a piece of the story. Next up is proxemics. The easiest way to think about this is your personal bubble. We all have one, and the amount of space you put between yourself and other people sends this powerful, unspoken message about trust, intimacy, and your relationship to them. Check this out. The anthropologist Edward T. Hall actually mapped this out into 4 key zones. You've got the intimate zone, from 0 to about 18 inches, which is reserved for people we trust completely. Then there's the personal zone, up to 4 feet, for friends and casual chats. The social zone is more for business and acquaintances. And anything beyond that is the public zone, for things like giving a speech. If you break these unspoken rules, you can make people feel really, really uncomfortable, fast. Okay, now for one of the most fascinating parts of all this, microexpressions. These are these tiny, totally involuntary muscle movements that flash across our faces when we feel a really strong emotion. They are almost impossible to fake, and they're really hard to hide. And here's why they are so important. A microexpression lasts for less than half a second. It's a momentary leak of a real feeling, like a flash of fear or disgust or joy, that can completely contradict the words someone is saying. They're like a tiny little window into how a person is truly feeling. All right, so that's the theory. But how can we actually use this stuff to, read the room, build better relationships, and just understand people better? Let's get practical. I love this quote because it perfectly describes one of the most powerful tools we have for building connections: mirroring. It's a kind of social dance that you've probably done 1,000 times without even realizing it. So mirroring is when we subtly, subconsciously copy the body language of the person we're talking to. They lean in, we lean in. It just happens naturally when people are really connecting, and it sends this deep, primal signal to the other person's brain that says, hey, I get you, we're on the same team. And the effect this has is huge. Get this. One study found that when food servers just repeated a customer's order back to them word for word, which is a kind of verbal mirroring, their tips went up by an average of 70%. That is the power of making someone feel truly seen and heard. So building connection is great, but the second we start talking about body language, everybody wants to know the same thing. Can this turn you into a human lie detector? Let's just tackle that question head on. Look at the contrast here. On the left, you've got cues that build connection, open posture, natural mirroring. But on the right, you see clusters of cues that might signal deception. You see a shift to defensive poses, like crossed arms, maybe they stop using their hands to talk, or they start self-soothing, like touching their face or neck. The real key here is a sudden change in their normal behavior. But, and this is so important, there is no single Pinocchio's nose that tells you someone is lying. Being a responsible observer means you need context. You have to look for clusters of cues, not just one. You need to know how a person normally acts, their baseline. And you have to remember that things like cultural differences and just plain old stress can look exactly like deception. So really, the goal isn't to become some kind of interrogation expert. It's to become a more conscious and honestly a more empathetic observer. And the best place to start practicing is with the one person you can watch 24/7, yourself. This is absolutely a skill you can train. So let's do a quick, super simple exercise right now, just to feel that direct link between our bodies and our minds. All right, try this with me. First, just notice how you're sitting or standing right now. Now, let's adopt a confident posture. Sit up straight, pull your shoulders back, lift your head a bit. Hold that for a second. Okay, now switch. Go into a closed posture. Slouch down, cross your arms, drop your head a little. Can you feel that? The difference? Your posture doesn't just send messages out, it sends them straight to your own brain. So let's wrap up with the big takeaways. Number one, more than half of what you're saying with your body. Two, mirroring is like a secret superpower for building connection. Three, when it comes to dishonesty, it's all about patterns and context, not one single sign. And finally, your own body language can actually change how you feel. Which brings us to one last thought. Just for a second, check in with yourself. What story is your body telling at this exact moment? Because now you know for sure everyone else is reading it.